Welcome to the Candle Business Coach Podcast, a show about the craft of candle making and small business. I'm your host, Kirsty Allen, and I'm a candle maker, mum of three, and kindness advocator. Join me as I dive into all things candles and small business and deliver advice and tips to you in episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Are you on the list to get my daily motivation emails? Every day I'll send you a message that is designed to help keep you focused on taking action toward your goals. Sign up using the link in the show notes. This episode is brought to you by my free ebook, the Candle Business Marketing Kickstarter Kit. Inside this free ebook, you'll learn to identify your blocks of time to dedicate to your candle business. Plus, there are several tips and tricks for re-engaging past customers and attracting new customers into your business so you can grow your business and reach your goals. Check out the link in the show notes for your copy. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend. Today we have a very special guest with us. And it's Tim from Pure Candle Supplies. Tim, did you want to introduce yourself to listeners?
Hey everyone, I'm Tim from Pure Candle Supplies based in Melbourne. So Kirsty, thanks for having me on the podcast.
You're more than welcome. Now, I wanted to bring you on the podcast for a few reasons. One, I wanted to show the listeners what actually goes behind the scenes from a supplier point of view. But also, two, I wanted to get to know the Pure Candle Supplies journey and understand the origin behind its beginning. So if you want to share with us how it all began.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it started, funnily enough, over a couple of drinks. Myself, my wife, Lana, and my best mate, Zach. And so Zach had his partner at the time has a candle making business, and it was quite large, and they were paying a fair bit for their product. So I have a background in import and distribution and thought, well, let me have a look. And just going through the process and finding out and looking at suppliers in Australia, thought there was a bit of a gap, bit of a need in the market for just that local Melbourne supplier, supplier that anyone can come in, do a shop, get some advice, and just have that chat in a showroom. And so, it all started off a couple of drinks in mid-2020, that idea, and grew from there.
So was that before COVID hit or around the same time?
That was during COVID, yeah. So we were having a couple of online drinks, and we came up with this idea.
And so the name Pure Candle Supplies, where does that come from?
Yeah, so we originally wanted something that just like we're thinking quality candle supplies, but it didn't ring all that well off the tongue. And one of the things that we want to do is make sure that we have really high quality, like clean pure type product. Like, we all understand fragrance oils. They're synthetics and all that type of thing, but we wanted to bring in like really clean quality products. So essentially Pure came from that, and we started with some pure waxes, so our 100% soy wax and our coconut soy wax. So that's where it originated from, helping with our branding of those waxes and supplying the market with good quality products. So. Yeah.
And you're right, Pure Candle Supplies definitely rolls off the tongue a lot, more crisper than any other name. Yeah.
It's not as tacky, so
yes, yeah. It does have an air of luxury about it, and even like your logo and your branding, it's quite like it's minimalistic, but it's clean and it's clear, and it's really easy to recognize, especially just even on like the boxes of wax that you have and the products that you supply. Like the branding that you have is really clear and crisp, like I said.
Yeah, we've tried to keep it really simple. Like one of our philosophies in business is don't overcomplicate things. Like keep it as simple as possible. Like a lot of our boxing and branding is simplistic. It's craft, and it's all that to tie in with the pure and the natural. That's sort of part of our branding, along with the sage colour. We've tried to tie it in to really make sense and be a really simplistic go-to-market on the branding front.
So what was the process like when you first started PCS?
So the process, essentially where it started was we thought we can get this thing started if we can source these jars for a major client. that would get the business started off, and we were able to do that. And so once we did that, we that was just a couple of size jars in a single colour, and we thought, okay, we'll expand that out to a few more colours and a starting fragrance oil range. And like any business, I won't sit here and go, we had everything right, we're perfect, because we were far from it. I mean, we started with fragrances, doing them in our kitchen. We didn't have any idea about labels. My wife, Alana, had to do cutting labels. It was taking us forever. And we finally got to launch, and we got like 3 or 5 orders, I think it was, and we were over the moon. And that's where the business started from. And we have made so many mistakes over the journey, so many, but every single one we try and, learn from. And so we started, I think, with about 8 fragrance oils and a couple of jars. And now we've got a fairly decent range of jars. We're expanding the wax range, and the fragrance oils, I think we have over 100 now, and they're all based or sourced from Australia. So we've got partnerships with 5 actually manufacturers in Australia of fragrance oils. And just be on the back of that, the reason that we have 5 is what you'll find, or what we found was, we started with one supplier and we were like, okay, there's some good stuff here, there's some not so good stuff. So what we found is some suppliers are really good at a certain niche, and then other suppliers are good at another niche. So we just test all the time, and what we found is, by having such a wide variety of suppliers, it allows us to expand the range and get really good quality in each oil, instead of just having one supplier that does some things okay, some others not so much. We've expanded to there, but it started mid-2020. By November, we signed on for our first lease. We moved into the factory in December 2021. And for our first year, we shipped, compared to some of the big players, I'm sure it would be a drop in the ocean, but we shipped 8 containers along with, LCL, which is like pallet loads and stuff like that. And we had a lot of local orders. So you can imagine in the first year trying to coordinate 8 containers and get them in your warehouse and do all new products and build the business. Like, it was quite a hectic time for us, but we really enjoyed that first year of business. It was great.
And there's been so much growth that you've experienced, including bringing on more team members as well. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, we've had a few come and go along the journey, as you do. But Nicole's been here since the start, since the kitchen fiasco. So she's been, especially to me, my right hand really, and she's been huge for this business. She's caught the bug of candle making, and so she's started her own hobby on the side, and she sells some at markets and stuff like that, which is actually really good for us, because she's now become the product expert, where Zach was at the start, but Nicole's taken over. Zach, I mentioned earlier, he's the business partner, and so he's started with the training and all the candle info. And we had the mother-in-law at one stage, and she's had enough now. But she was really good. Lana, my wife, and we've just hired Justine, and we've got some casuals as well. So starting with Zach, myself, Lana doing little bits and pieces, and Nicole here and there, it's grown to a really good, energetic young team that we're all on board and looking to take it to the next level this year.
It's incredible to think how quick that growth in the team has gone, but I think it's a testament to how well the business is doing in terms of its customer service as well. I know that one thing that sets PCS apart from perhaps some of the other suppliers is that the customer service is just extraordinary, and whether it's an email or a call or a visit to the showroom, there's always someone there to answer your questions, which I feel is really beneficial for especially the beginner candle maker as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the foundation of the business is, we wanted that, like, to give you some insight, we've got a philosophy or a strategy, and it sounds silly, but we call it Own the East. We want to be that candle supplier that everyone knows and trusts in the Melbourne's East, and hopefully all of Melbourne, but if, Melbourne East is the starting point, that people can come in and just have a chat and, rely and trust on the advice that we give them. That was our, foundation. We've also added things like we have a live chat online, so we try and get to that as quickly as possible during the day. Obviously, out of hours, I'm sometimes on the phone, but I try not to answer it with the family at home. But I think it's really key to not only deliver a really good product, but to back it up with no nonsense. So, just tell the truth about what the products are, how they perform. We don't say that we're the best at everything, but we try and be honest and transparent with what we do. And just offer really straight up advice.
And it's so important, as you say, to have that honesty and transparency with your customers. And that's something that rings true with everyone in the team, that you've built that mindset to have that simple, straightforward approach that really is beneficial for all the customers that come across PCS and the products that you sell as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some of the values that you've got to instill within the team's respect, not just internally within the team, but also with your customers. So, it's hard enough getting customers. You've got to make sure that you treat them right as well. And just teamwork. I think teamwork's really important, whether it's in, like, I've got a sporting background, and I think if you work as a team, you're always going to hit the destination and your goals a lot quicker than trying to get there individually. So I think that's really important, just the teamwork aspect of it.
Were you expecting the growth that you had and as fast as you had?
No, it caught us off guard, and it still catches us off guard. Like, we were just having a chat prior to this, and we put out a post about how we source products that we don't have online for clients, more the higher end clients or the volume producers. And so just today and yesterday, like, my phone's been calling, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? And so, that sort of stuff, it's overwhelming, but it's really, it's awesome. Like, we've just signed a new lease for down the road because we've outgrown this facility here. So we'll remain here and we'll have that as well. So we signed that up for, 2 years. So, it's a calculated risk, but with everything that's going on and the, positivity that's coming our way from, incoming leads and queries, it's looking really positive. So I did not expect the speed of the growth, that's for sure.
How has your mindset been during the last couple of years? Like, I know with COVID, people had their challenges personally and professionally, but having the success that you've had, how do you stay on top of your mindset so that you can handle all the things that come your way?
Oh, it's hard. It's hard. Like, a lot of people may not know, but I run another consulting business as well. So there's a lot of late nights. I'm known for the 3 a.m. late night working session. Zach reckons I'm crazy, but you've just got to fit it in somehow and get things done. And it's hard. I'm not anywhere near perfect. It's like, I've got the Calm app. I would listen to that before bed. I try and take time. I just go for walks. When you're feeling, the anxiety get a bit high, you've got to do something that works for you. And it is really tough as well. Like, as you would know, having young children, like, I've got 3 kids, and so you're always feeling the pressure of work and performing and keeping all your customers happy and making sure that you're responsive and getting the job done and not lagging there. But also, you've got pressure on the home front. You're trying to be a dad, you're trying to make sure that you're a provider and get everything on the home front, keep it moving as well. So there's always those pressures, and the most simple way to try and do it is to understand who you are and try and not be something you're not at work or at home, and just make time for yourself every now and then. That's the hardest thing, I think, is make time for yourself.
Yeah, prioritizing self-care and self-needs, especially when there are so many pressures and you have a passion for what you do as well.
Yeah.
You can feel guilty if you take time away from one area to dedicate to another, but it's essential to try and find that balance to make it all work.
Exactly. Like, how have you found that going on? I know that you were talking earlier, and you've got podcasts, you've got the candle business coach, you've got a candle business as well. So you'd be similar situation where you're juggling a lot of balls with the young family as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you make it work because you're passionate about what you do, and to me it doesn't feel like work. It's just
Yeah.
such an enjoyable outlet, both creatively and from a business side, that I find that I run out of time throughout the day and night before I get all the things on my list done. But it's funny trying to find that balance between being a mum or being a parent as well as running your business and trying to make that grow as well, and just do your best each day and invest in self-care when you can.
Yeah, of course. And like, how do you feel? Like, I know that I get a lot more reward out of doing this than some other things I've done in the past, like whether I'm an employee or whatever, just from because it's something that you started up and it's yours and it's your baby and everything is so high risk and it's your decision. When something pays off, the exhilaration or the, ecstasy of the outcomes, I don't think there's much better.
No, I'd agree. I think the joy that you experience when you feel that your business is doing well just outweighs anything else you could get in a paid position somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So when it comes to candle making and the early candle makers, what sort of recommendations would you have for people just starting out?
So my number one tip is buy small first. So we see a lot of people, like they'll come in and, what's the price on this? 25 kilos of wax, or what's this? And my recommendation is, starter kits are fantastic. Just to start around playing, like we've got a starter kit, I think it's $40. And so it gives you instructions. You get 3 or 5 jars, depending on which one. You get a fragrance, you get the jug. So they're great starting points for people. You learn a fragrance, you learn wick size, and you just build up a foundation. And I always say start small, because we've seen people like come in, buy $800, and then 3 weeks later it's like, oh, what about this and that? This isn't working, and oh, can I change that over? And it just makes it complicated. So I always start small. Start with like a fragrance or 2 in a single size jar. Get the technique right. It's a bit like cooking. I always say it's like cooking. Like you're putting wax, especially double boiler method at the start, putting on a stove, you're getting the temperatures, you're adding something and you're pouring it into a vessel, similar to baking or similar to cooking. So start small, learn your craft. And I think, I know this is going to sound really cheesy and biased, but I think you should try and find a local supportive supplier so you can drop in and have a chat, because sometimes you've got the forums, you've got YouTube, which is great for instructional, but sometimes you want to know, like, what scent will work with this, how's that going to react with this. Like, to have someone that you can drop in locally, I think it's really important. And so, like, people in Sydney, I'd recommend go to a local supplier. That wouldn't be us, but start somewhere local that you can have a chat.
And there's so many questions when it comes to candle making and life in general that Google just can't answer. So when you want to know something specific about making candles and making the best candle that you can, knowing that you can go to a local supplier not only will help with shipping costs being eliminated if you're able to drive there, but then getting that personalised support really does make a difference to the experience you have when you make the candle.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the other thing. You want to try and find a mentor as well that's been there and done that. And so whether that's somebody that or somebody that's locally that is willing to help. I know it's hard sometimes because, you will end up competing with other candle. Yeah, just finding that mentor. As I said, it's hard because sometimes they might think that you're competing and they don't want to give you inside tips and it's fair enough too. Some people have probably done all the testing and done the hard yards. I don't want to just hand that over to someone and give them a free access into the industry. But I also think what you're doing is fantastic, because there was a gap in the market of, candle business coaching. There's plenty of classes. There's not coaching, so ongoing management and that support, so that someone can just reach out when they're having trouble as to, okay, what should I do here? Because that's really important. And as you would know, and anyone that's starting in any business, you will get roadblocks at so many turns, and it's really good to have someone there that you can have a chat to and bounce ideas off and think, well, what do we do here? Because sometimes just chatting about things, you get the outcome, you get a solution.
Yes.
versus, in your own head. If you're just bouncing things off, sometimes you just get so worked up that you can't get an end result or a resolution.
And as you'd know, making candles can be very frustrating
Yeah,
when it doesn't work the way you thought, and you end up with a sinkhole, or you've
yeah,
used the wrong size wick and it tunnels, or something goes wrong.
yeah,
If you are a beginner, you don't necessarily know how to troubleshoot those issues. And
yeah.
again, you can look online, but to actually speak to someone, whether it's a supplier or someone like myself, to guide you through that process can fast track your results and make the process more enjoyable overall.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things I chat to people that come in here is don't be hard on yourself. I think there is a bit of a stigma in the candle industry that, a lot of people will say, oh, I've got a perfect top or a perfect finish. And you will get that after a while. You'll get it really consistent. I don't think you'll ever get perfect finishes every time, but you'll get more consistent finishes. And sometimes that builds up an expectation for the starting candle maker that, I've got to get it to this point. It's got to look like this. But especially if you're using more natural waxes, it's just not going to occur because, a natural wax is more inconsistent than something that has a shrinking agent like a paraffin or a palm within the mix. So, don't be hard on yourself. Have fun, enjoy it, and see where it takes you. And if you do that, you're going to be more of a chance of creating a business versus putting high expectations on yourself at the start and not enjoying the process.
And then burning yourself out as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Pardon the pun. So for our more experienced high volume candle makers, what would your recommendations be for them?
There's a couple of ways to definitely save money. So one thing I've noticed is that because candle supply businesses are e-commerce stores most of the time, what I've noticed is they'll place orders online and not reach out. So like I'll reach out to a lot of customers that, okay, I've seen their business, they're quite a decent player, call them up or reach out on social. Hey, did you know that we can do this? We can deliver this. We can do all these things. And you can bring the cost base down quite significantly versus just buying online. And so most simple thing is have a conversation with the supplier, call them up. If you're a decent, if you're doing volumes, call them up and ask them, okay, well, can I get a discount on shipping? Yep, we can. Like as an example, our online, if we're sending a pallet to somewhere, we can get special pricing versus online, which is just a loose quote, or it'll have a generic set of suppliers. So that's one thing. Shop around like anything. So we are having like really good success at the moment in saving people on glassware. So, there's been a lot of traditional players that are making a lot of money, I think anyway. I'll be blunt in saying it. And so we're having really good success at the moment in bringing in jars at a lower price for volume makers. That's one of our growth plans this year. And it's going to be a driver for the business. Shop around, look at your freight, and have 2 or 3 suppliers. So we've got obviously large candle makers, and I'll chat to them and say, oh, I can't do that for you. I can't provide that. Always have 2 or 3 ready to go because I might run out of stock. Someone else might run out of stock. So where's your redundancy? And I found a lot, like we get calls in like December, oh, do you have this? Do you have this? There's panic. And I've never spoken to these like a supplier before. So always have 2 or 3 options ready to go. And that could be doing me out of business, but I'm just trying to provide like a bit of advice on making sure that you've always got redundancy in your business.
Well, it's working your business smarter, not harder. It's being more mindful about how you're running your business. And I feel that for the candle makers that move across from hobby to taking it seriously, they need to factor in these sorts of things so that they are more prepared as their business scales and grows.
Yeah, and even on like the mid-size, we've got a lot of mid-size client base, so not your huge volume players, but that mid-size. And so things like because obviously not everyone's got a commercial address, right? So if you're delivering a decent size quantity of goods, let's say half a pallet or something to a residential address, you can get charged quite a high amount. And so one of the solutions that we've got is we've got delivered to depot nationwide. So that's not online though. So somebody calls us up and says, hey, I'd like to order half a pallet worth of goods. What sort of deal can you do on the freight? We can then discount the freight, deliver to a local depot, and they just collect the goods from there. There's all sorts of strategies and ways, and it comes back to have a chat with your supplier, because online we can't provide all of the solution. We try and provide like 80%, but you have a chat with your supplier and I'm sure they'll be able to deliver something outside of what's online.
Would you say that the current more successful candle makers are more confident in that they would reach out and consider that an option?
Oh, it's surprising. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure. I think like COVID sort of made people think that online is online. Do you know what I mean? And it's not like that old school service of just picking up the phone, having a chat. What can you do for me here? And yeah, I just think that is the most successful way to try and get a result for your business, is to have a chat with the person on the other end of the line, being a supplier. Because on most occasions, there's savings to be had by trying to look at different ways of doing it. Because as I said, it's really hard to structure something online to get a result based on unique circumstances.
Do you prefer online orders or when people actually get in touch with you?
Oh, a bit of both. I mean, you want your smaller orders to be online, ideally, because you don't want your staff entering orders all day, for something that might be $50. So ideally, that would be your online, and then your larger orders you'd prefer to probably work them through on the phone.
What would classify someone as a high volume candle maker?
Oh, like it's different everywhere, but for us, it would be, somebody's buying, 500 jars or a few hundred kilos of wax in a purchase.
Yeah, okay. Speaking of products, what do you think is the future of pricing and products such as wax?
Yeah, well, that's the most commonly asked question. And so you would have seen, like, I don't want to be flogging our business the whole time. You would have seen that we had a price freeze on wax, which I think was until end of February. And so there's so many variants on how you land wax into Australia. So, you've got the Aussie dollar conversion versus the US dollar. So at the moment it's a tick over 70, which is good. As soon as it goes down to, I think we were down at like 63, 64 there for a little bit, which would have seen that compounded with high shipping costs. The shipping costs were ridiculous 18 months ago. And so that low Aussie dollar and then increases to the raw ingredients, that there was a period where it all went up significantly in a short period of time. And so that really affected the market. I think the most popular wax I've seen is 464. That would probably, and I'm not sure, I don't see the sales volume data, but I would think that would be the number one wax in Australia. And so there's been a lot of, have you seen it? All the chat on the forums and everything about the increases to 464, because people have used it for such a long period of time, and now they have to adjust, their business to these, pretty steep increases in pricing. But I personally believe that that's behind us. So a good Aussie dollar at the moment, I think it should stay that way, because US, I don't want to get boring, but the US, their interest rates don't look like they're going to keep pushing them up. So we should have a fairly balanced Aussie dollar for the foreseeable future. The soybean pricing is pretty stable, and freight's come back down. So I think with the increases that we've seen, you'll see wax price pretty stable, and we'll commit that we're not putting our prices up for the next 3 to 6 months. So that's like the confidence that we have that wax prices won't be increasing too much. There's been a little bit of increase on fragrance, raw materials. So we've had to absorb that over the last 6 months. So I'm not too sure about where that's going. A lot of the raw ingredients will be, like, from our suppliers, is from China, France, USA. So they come from all over the place. So it's a bit harder to predict. But yeah, I think pricings will stabilise over the next 6 to 12 months.
That must be very reassuring for the listeners that are curious how they're going to keep their profits coming in when prices do fluctuate. But speaking of prices, what would you say to the average candle maker who's afraid to put their prices up, even though the cost of supplies is increasing or has increased?
Oh, don't be afraid. Like, you've got to think. So my philosophy is, if the Aussie dollar drops, well, the Aussie dollar drops for everyone. Or if shipping pricing increases on import freight, or everyone else is dealing with the same thing. So if I have to put my prices up, like most times, the other suppliers are going to have to do the same thing because we're all in the same environment. But firstly, make sure you shop around. So before you put your prices up, review what you're doing, where you're buying them from, and don't always go the cheapest price though. Like, that's like, we're cheap on wax, but if you're happy with your current wax, we'll stay with it and try and find other places that you can save money, whether it be fragrance oils, your wicks, your jars, whatever it be. But don't be afraid to put your prices up, because most people that increase their prices don't normally see a drop. But it also, and I'll hand this one back over to you, it also comes down to where your branding and your go-to-market is. So if you brand yourself as being the cheapest, then the only way to go is to be the cheapest all the time. But if your branding is on a premium product or something unique or something that somebody else can't provide, then you've got a point of difference to everyone else around you, and you can do that. So what do you see when people ask that question?
I see a lot of fear and anxiety that they'll lose sales, and the amount of the scarcity around losing sales causes so much anxiety that they won't even put their prices up $1 or $2 a candle. They'll keep them the same price. I've seen some even go backwards to drop their prices to try and get more sales. And I always say it's not a race to the bottom. You have to look at what your product costs you to make and price your products accordingly, whether you're doing wholesale or retail.
Yeah, and it's also good, like in any business, if you're going to test something like a price drop, then maybe do a short-term sale and see if it actually increases your revenue or your units sold. But then also look at, because a lot of people look at units sold or revenue, but look at the profit. So how much, what's the cost benefit to you selling an extra 20 candles, especially if you're a hobbyist? So if you're a hobbyist and you've only got a certain amount of time, then you can't drop your prices, because all you're going to be doing is making less within the time frame that you've got. My suggestion is always think of something different. Think of something that essentially other people around you don't do. So that's a better way of looking at it versus pricing.
It's about standing out in the market and bringing a point of difference to either the customer service or the actual products that you're making and selling to your customers.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there's all sorts of things that you can try and do, like try and make your own fragrance. Try blending your own fragrances and coming up with something that's a little bit different. Like, what I find a lot is people will, candle makers will buy a certain fragrance and then just rename it, but there's 10 other people that do the same thing. So you can sell the same fragrance, but why not come up with a different name and then try and come up with a story behind that? Because you got to remember, people buy based on emotion, especially with something like a candle. So if you can hit people's emotions better than the candle maker next to you, then you're going to have a better success rate.
And it's about telling the story behind the product and sharing your story as a business owner and why you wanted to start your business, and really personalizing your brand so people can get to know, like, and trust you, rather than you saying, here's my candle, buy it, here's my candle, buy it. You need to be able to weave in and out of your social media, your personality and the brand's personality as well. Yeah,
of course. Like, one of the things that we've really enjoyed over the journey is like candle makers that started at a similar time as us. And, they might have started buying 1 or 2 fragrances, but they've grown over the journey. And like, one of them, 26 Candle Co., comes to mind up in North Queensland, and they've got that like perfectly. They've got a brand, they're doing it, for their sister who passed away. And so they've got a really good story behind it. And they're also just awesome and lovely girls to work with. But it's really good seeing someone who has a story, has a brand, and we've seen them grow over that journey, but also grown with them. And so, that sort of stuff is really, really good and makes it all worth it.
It's like you both had your business babies at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
And now they're toddlers together. Do you find that when a person doesn't prioritize personal growth, that impacts their business growth as well?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, you're the vessel, aren't you? So if you're burnt out, if you're stressed, and like we've all been there, and I still go to those places at the moment, not at the moment, but during the journey, because sometimes you just get overwhelmed with everything, and you've just got to make sure you make time for yourself, and it's really difficult. Like I've just on a personal note, like started a diet because I was getting a bit unhealthy and a bit chubber. So I've had to get on the meal plan and do all that sort of stuff and just try and feel better during the day every day. So you've got to take care of yourself, otherwise, and to put it in another way, like your family relies on you, your home family plus your work family. So if you're not performing like this, if this business doesn't perform, then there's 2 or 3 people that are out of a job. So you've also always got that expectation, and you've got to make sure that not just for yourself, but for the people around you, you're taking care of yourself and making sure that you're doing any form of personal development. Now, that doesn't have to be, courses or anything like that. That could just be reading a book. It could be anything that is just stimulating you and where your own personal growth.
Yeah. I mean, you could even listen to this podcast.
Yes, you could. You could.
When you start your candle business, there are so many things to consider and research along the way, especially when it comes to choosing the right suppliers. Long Story Short provides all your design and printing needs, from your logo and branding to designing and printing your product labels. The quality is exceptional, the customer service is amazing, and prices are very reasonable. They're the only label company I recommend, so check out their website or send them an email today to get started. hello@longstoryshortdesign.com.au. So when it comes to actually running Pure Candle Supplies and completing all the different tasks, how do you prioritise what needs to be done?
Yeah, so I use a program called ClickUp. And so we collaboratively work through that. Got a whiteboard as well to just make sure that we have that. But I've found that having something in digital format that you can access anywhere, anytime is really important. And you've just got to make some time each day. Like today was crazy. And so I've got a whole bunch of stuff left to do for today, but I'll do that tonight. So everyone's different. And this is the thing. Some people might want to work early in the morning or try and smash it out during the day. But after this, I'll switch off. I'll go home, put the kids to bed, and I'll switch back on. It might be at 9:30 at night, and I'll work until it needs to get done. But that's how I deal with something, because I can't go to sleep. It turns over until the tasks are ticked off. But I just recommend trying to get something that you can have all of your tasks in a single location, and so that you can log into that. It could even be a notepad for some people, or a task list, and just make sure that you keep on top of it and make time each day. Because if you let that get away from you, it's really hard to catch up. But then also your customer service lacks and falls behind. And that's the last thing that you want, especially in Pure Candle Supplies. We want to be responsive. We want to be quick. We want to give people clear and transparent answers. And we don't want that lag time, because then people, get frustrated and they'll go elsewhere.
Yeah, that's right. And particularly when they're comparing prices, if something is a similar price, what will set them apart is that customer service. And you've got that as an advantage with PCS.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary.
So tell us about the biggest win that you've had so far.
The biggest win that we've had so far, I mean, it would have had to have been the initial client. So making sure, I'll be open and honest that Zach and I put $100,000 each into this to start it. And that was sort of the capital that was required to get it going at the start. So there's a risk involved with starting a supplier business. I've seen a couple not make it during the period that we started. So there's risks on the supplier side, and it does require capital to start, because you've got to order, especially if you're doing glass and wax, you've got to order it from overseas. It's on containers. You've got to pay for it up front. and all that type of thing. So I think securing that first deal, and that ensured that we could, invest into the business in a safe way, taking that calculated risk. That is the biggest win that we've had, and we've had a lot of like small wins along the way. But I'm pretty confident like next month will be huge for us in confirming this year and about 3 or 4 new wholesale clients that are looking for glassware and a few other things. And that's what sort of revs me up. That's what excites me. I'm a salesman for 16 years. So, it's closing deals, getting results for clients, and building something that's sustainable for the future. That's what gets me revved up every day. And I reckon February will be, if you ask me this in another month or two, I reckon that will be the biggest buzz that we would have had.
Amazing. It's so exciting to hear your passion and to see how much growth is still possible for Pure Candle Suppliers. And you're literally just in your infancy, but you've had so many achievements along the way, and it's very inspiring.
Thank you. It's hard to respond to that.
It wasn't really a question. That's okay. What were some of the challenges that you've faced so far? Would COVID be one of them?
Yes and no. I mean, COVID really accelerated our business because we're able to create an online following. And that's probably one thing I didn't cover off, was making sure that you get the right online platform. We started with Squarespace and just had a friend develop it for us just to get something up and going. And then my sister, who's got a background in marketing, helped us with our Shopify site. And we're currently reviewing it and upgrading it at the moment to improve the user experience again. But when we did that changeover, the credibility from our new site to our old site was huge. It took our business forward because the old one was a bit so-so and the new one was just cleaner and it looked more professional. So that is one of the things that I would recommend, is making sure that you've got a really nice, clean, succinct online website that people can go to and it doesn't look tacky, because when you're online only, that's your face. That's what everyone knows you as. And so during COVID, when we updated our website, that's the first sort of accelerator that we found within the business, that like our sales started to jump up because of the credibility, and the website was easy to use. So, it really kicked us along. I reckon the biggest challenge has been dealing with China. So, especially like we get all of our glassware from China. There's no real other option. You can get it from USA, but it's a lot more expensive. And so there's a language gap in a lot of cases. There's you've got to try and put really strict quality control processes in place when you're dealing with it remotely. You're not there. You're not there when they're doing all the production runs. And so we've had some errors and mistakes and that can be quite costly to your business. And they can hit you pretty hard, because a lot of the time as a culture, sometimes the Chinese don't want to upset you or disappoint you. So sometimes the products get here and there has been something wrong with them on occasions. And so the problem with that is, by that time, you're already committing to customers, you're forecasting the sales, and there's something wrong with the product that you've got to get fixed before you can send it out to market. Because we will not put something out in the market that's not correct. That's just going to damage your brand. And so that's probably the biggest challenge I've found over the 2 years, is trying to make sure that those processes and procurement streams are really nailed down, but it's really hard to stay on top of.
Yeah, I could imagine, considering it would take, how long does it take for a shipping container to get from China to Melbourne?
Well, you're talking about the entire supply chain process. It's not just when it actually comes. I mean, you put down your deposit and then it can take anywhere from 25 to 50 days to get the goods produced. And so after they're produced, then you get the container on the water, and it's usually 16 to 21 days. So you can be talking about a 2-3 month time frame where you've got your cash tied up. So, the container could cost you cost you 50 grand, it could cost you $150,000. And so if there's something wrong within that, you've then got to go through the process again to fix it up. So that's why it's the biggest challenge. It's you don't have as much control over that process as what we do here when we deal with Australian fragrance manufacturers, where we don't have any issues whatsoever, and we get quick turnaround times. Communication's really good. So that's why, like, we've decided to deal with Australian manufacturers on fragrance oil. It's good. It's quick. It's, you can ensure the quality is, really in a controlled environment, and it's really good. China, you get good products and you get them at a really good price, but there's a lot more challenges with it, and you've got to try and implement processes to keep them, on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, and I can imagine for like the common candle maker, they would have no idea of all this behind the scenes work and effort that goes into getting a jar that they can pick up off the shelf and purchase from you or from a different supplier. There's so much behind the scenes that, as a supplier, that you're dealing with constantly to make your business work, to make other people's work. And if you want to just share what your motto is for the candle businesses, it's on your website, I believe, and if you need me to remind you, I will.
When you grow, we grow.
Yes, which is true. So it's about, it's about that teamwork and helping each other rise through the different processes. And this just happens to be candle supply and candle businesses.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've talked about it already, but that's the philosophy is, you've got to be there as a partner, not just as a supplier, but, I remember when you started first coming in, and that would have been around when we opened, I believe. Yeah. So, we always had a chat in the showroom and that type of thing, and even online on messages when you had questions and that type of thing. So it's just really important to be there for your customer. There's obviously boundaries, like we've got families at home. So, sometimes clients will expect too much after hours and that. And so sometimes, you've got to set expectations, but I think it's just really important to try and form partnerships. Now, we're not perfect. We've had customers that aren't happy with certain things, but I'm also a strong believer that everyone makes mistakes. The philosophy around here is we'll rectify the mistakes that we make as quickly as possible. Now, if the customer's not happy with that, I'll pretty straightforward say, maybe we're not the right supplier for you if you can't accept our apology and quick rectification on it. And that's just what happens sometimes in any business. But I think it's really important, just to try and work with each other and get to a known outcome. And in the candle maker's position, it's making a really good product that people want to buy. It's as simple as that. So how do you get to that result? Especially when you consider all the raw materials, once they've all been brought together, then you can create a product that someone will use when they're having a bath, or will light after they've cleaned the house, or they'll use it as a way to give themselves self-care. And as the candle maker, you're a part of that process, part of that journey. It's more than just selling a product. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of emotion in candles, I find. Yeah.
Yes. So in your opinion, what do you think is the most important strength someone would need to have to be successful as a candle maker?
I'll put that in any business. So candle maker, any business owner, anyone that wants to start something is resilience. You've got to be resilient in anything, because I call it the roller coaster of business. You are going to have some massive highs, you're going to have some massive lows. And so the key in anything is to just flatline that as much as possible. So you will need resilience to, you're going to get difficult customers. You're going to get products that don't work the way that you need them to or want them to. You're going to get online that fails when you've got a sale happening, which has happened to us. And so you need resilience. Otherwise, it's going to be a really challenging road for you to try and ride out that roller coaster.
Yeah, I would agree. And when I've asked other people that question, I normally get the response patience, which I feel goes hand in hand with resilience.
Yes.
It's just that personal self-control and being able to regulate your own emotions and experiences so that you can continue to get up each day and work on your business and focus on your goals and work towards what you got into business for, that lifestyle that you dream about, the financial freedom that you want for yourself and your family.
Yeah, and it's really tough though. Like when you're passionate about something, it is tough to flatline your emotions because you invest so much into it. And I'm sure that you've had those challenges over the journey, but I know you're a fairly stable.
Yes. But it's true. Like when you're so passionate and you're so invested in what you want to succeed, if something doesn't go according to plan, you can blame yourself, you can blame outside situations or circumstances, and you can try and think about it and work it out to try and not let that experience happen again in the future. But it is a roller coaster. You will have those big highs and big lows, as you say, and you've just got to have that resilience to just endure the ride.
Yeah, for sure. And not just endure it, but you've got to enjoy it. Otherwise, like that's the big thing. There's times that you don't enjoy it and you're thinking, why am I doing this? But the highs outweigh the lows, I believe, anyway. And if they don't, then you probably have to reassess what you're doing and how you're going about it.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily that you've failed. It's just you're pivoting into something that's more in alignment with what you want out of life.
Yeah, 100%. And pivoting is a great word. And we've all had to do that over the last 2 or 3 years, plenty of times. So,
Definitely.
and that's a really good point, Kirsty, is that sometimes you create a business plan and you have all the goals and you have everything set up, and it could change in month 3. You could have a 3-year business plan, but it'll change throughout the course, and you've always got to review and revise your business plans along the way because things will come across, good and bad, that change your goals and your planning.
Yeah, exactly. So what gives you motivation to keep going when things do get tough?
Oh, just in general, in my life, I've got a big value on family. So I've got a big driver of me is to make sure that I can care and provide for my family. And so that is my main motivator. And then personally, I'm an extremely proud person, and also got a bit of an ego. Like everyone, I think that strives for something has an ego that doesn't want to fail. So yeah, I would just say it's family, but also just driving to get an outcome on growing a business. Like for me, I just want to grow a business, something that Nicole, Justine, Lana, Zach, we've all been a part of, and we're all grow together and we create something that's really good and bring in more staff, and we just have a bunch of fun along the way. And I guess that's what drives me.
I love that.
Yeah.
How do you define success?
In business or in life?
Both. Let's go both.
I've had this chat with Dad a few times, and I think it's just generally to be at peace with where you are and be really confident in your direction. So, success is a really tough one to summarize, but I think it's just making sure, again, I'll circle back, just making sure the family's happy and they're taken care of and you're making time for everyone. And then on the business front, making sure that it's a really stable work environment, it's a good culture, everyone rocks up, they're happy to be there, there's no one that's just rocking up and ticking a box. And then creating a business that, we can all, like my goal is to come over to this full time, and so I don't have to work stupid hours. And it's just creating a more stable life that I really enjoy working, rocking up to work each day. Family's happy. I'm doing this. Other people working with really good people, just creating really good relationships. I don't know. I probably long-winded that, but it's sort of.
Well, based on that explanation, I'd say that you're fairly successful already.
So, how do you define success?
Hang on, you're not allowed to ask the interviewer the questions.
Oh.
No, I think for me, it comes down to happiness. If I'm happy and I'm working in integrity and my actions are in alignment with my values, It's not a monetary figure. It's not a particular goal. It's just, am I happy in myself? Can I go to bed at night and know that I've done the right thing by others and myself? And that to me is having a successful life.
That's a really good succinct way of saying it versus my long-winded way.
That's all right. I'll edit out your answer. It's fine. No. So we've come to one of my favorite parts of the podcast where I ask my guests 3 questions. Number 1, what is your favorite candle fragrance?
Oh, I've got a few. I'm going to go with the Daintree.
Yes.
So a custom fragrance that we did for a customer, and I like it because it relaxes me. So if I've had a tough day or whatever, I like sparking that one up at home with a whiskey and lying back, and for some reason it relaxes me. So that would be my favourite. I've got a few. I like our custom-made fragrances, so like Blondwoods and Cashmere as well is another one of my favourites. So
number 2, what do you love about candles?
Well, pretty much what I just said. They can really have an effect or impact on you based on, they talk about nostalgia, but I think it's just all like what affects you. Some people like vanilla scents, some people like certain things because it has an impact on them emotionally. Like when I light the Daintree and have the whiskey and lie down, it actually just soothes me for some reason. I don't know why, but it does.
No, it's good. It's good that you found something that works for you.
Yeah.
And number 3, what is one piece of advice you'd like to give to candle makers during their journey?
One piece of advice, enjoy it. Good times and bad, but just enjoy it. And if you're not enjoying it, then, reassess what you're doing or whether it's for you. Just make sure anything you do is enjoyable.
Well, thank you so much, Tim, for being part of the podcast. I truly appreciate your time tonight. Now, we did speak before we started recording, and we'd like to offer the listeners a little promotion. So do you want to share with everyone what that is?
Yeah, so everyone, I think we're going to do a code online, and we'll release that closer too. But, anyone that enters the code, we'll make up the code closer too, but it'll be 25% off their order. And that will include wax, which we never do. So if anyone wants to get a 25% discount on anything within their order, this is the one-time exclusive Candle Business Code podcast. We've never discounted off wax ever to that amount. So that'll be a world first.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being so generous. Now, is the code valid until a certain time? Now, when the podcast is released, will it be valid for, say, a week, 2 weeks? What do you think?
2 weeks would be a fair 2 time.
Weeks? Sure.
Yep.
So I'll put all the details in the show notes as to the code word for your online purchase and when it expires as well. But thank you so much, Tim, again, for being part of the podcast. I really appreciate your time, and I know that the listeners will get some value from our discussion today, and it gives us a little peek behind the supplier curtain as to how it all works behind the scenes when we buy our products from you.
Thanks for having me on, and I hope your listeners get a bit of value out of it, and I didn't waffle on too much, so thanks.
No, you were fine. All right, thanks, Tim.
All right, thanks.
Thanks everyone for listening today. I hope this episode added value to your candle making journey. Check out the show notes for all the links mentioned throughout today's show, and please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks again for listening. Have a beautiful day.